Her phone wouldn't stop vibrating on the counter, buzzing against the plastic tray like it had a heartbeat of its own, while the iced coffee beside it sat untouched, watered down and cold. Maya froze when she heard the sharp rip of paper. The gate agent's smile didn't reach his eyes as he held her passport up like a prop. People in line leaned in without meaning to. Someone's suitcase wheels squeaked. A kid started whining. Maya's throat tightened as the agent flicked a lighter, calm like he'd done this before, and the first ugly curl of heat kissed the corner of the booklet. Maya didn't scream. She didn't move. She just stared at the seal on the cover as it darkened, feeling something inside her go very still. Maya had learned a long time ago that the fastest way to lose control was to beg for it. She stood at gate C-17 in Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, the kind of busy that never really quieted down, even at odd hours. Atlanta always felt like a moving hallway with 1,000 different conversations bouncing off the walls. The air smelled like pretzels, perfume, and tiredness. Above her, the screens blinked flight numbers and delays like they were weather reports. A man behind her sighed every 20 seconds like it was his job. Maya could feel her own pulse in her fingers where they gripped the handle of her carry-on. The gate agent's name tag said, Derek. His hair was neatly gelled. His shirt was pressed. His voice was the kind people used when they wanted to sound polite while saying something ugly. This is not valid, Derek said, turning the passport over like he was inspecting a fake bill. You can't board. Maya swallowed. Her mouth felt dry, like she'd been chewing paper. It is valid. I used it last month. Derek shrugged without looking up. It's damaged. It's unacceptable. I'm not getting written up over your paperwork. Maya knew the look he gave her. She knew the way his eyes checked her face and then her clothes like they were clues. She wore a plain black sweater, dark jeans, and clean sneakers. Nothing flashy, nothing loud. She'd stopped dressing for other people's comfort years ago, but she still chose outfits like armor, simple and neat, the kind nobody could call unprofessional with a straight face. That didn't always help. She glanced at her phone again. 3 missed calls. 1 text from her mother. You at the airport? Call me. A second text from her sister. Please don't let them push you around today. Maya read it twice and felt her chest sting in a way that had nothing to do with Derek. Because it wasn't just a flight. It was everything stacked on top of the flight. Maya had slept 4 hours the night before, on her couch in a small apartment outside Silver Spring, Maryland, with a laundry basket still full because she kept telling herself she'd do it after the trip. She'd been balancing her laptop on her knees, reviewing reports that didn't feel like paper anymore but like weight. Her job was steady, but the pressure was constant. The kind of pressure that made you forget your shoulders could drop. She was flying to Atlanta for a scheduled inspection visit tied to airport operations, the kind of work most passengers never thought about. The email confirming her visit had been sent weeks ago. She'd packed her folder with the right documents, printed and organized, because she knew people listened differently when the evidence was in a binder. She had her badge in her purse. She had her itinerary. She had done everything the way she was supposed to. Still, here she was, standing in front of a man who had decided she was a problem. Sir, Maya said, keeping her voice even, if there's an issue, I can step aside and we can figure it out. But I need my passport back. Derek's lips pressed into a thin line, like her calm annoyed him more than anger would have. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. Look, don't make a scene. You people always want to make it a scene. Maya felt heat rise into her face. Not the kind that made her want to yell, but the kind that made her want to disappear. It brought back an old memory she hated, being 15 at a mall kiosk, trying to return headphones that didn't work, and the clerk talking slow like Maya was stupid. Her dad had squeezed her shoulder in the parking lot afterward and said, "Don't let them shrink you." Her dad was gone now. 2 years. Cancer. The quiet kind that steals time and makes everyone pretend things are normal until they aren't. Maya thought about him more than she admitted, especially when she felt herself getting small. I'm not making a scene, she said. I'm asking you to do your job. That's when Derek did something that didn't make sense, something so petty it felt unreal. He held the passport up again, like he wanted witnesses. Like he needed an audience. This is what happens when people think rules don't apply, he said, loud enough for the line to hear. Maya saw heads turn. She saw phones tilt, not fully raised but ready. She saw a woman in a beige coat cover her mouth like she was watching a fight. Maya's stomach dropped. In airports, everyone became a commentator. Derek produced a lighter from his pocket like it belonged there. Casual. Maya's mind tried to catch up. What are you doing? She asked, and her voice cracked on the last word. He flicked the lighter, once, twice. The flame caught. Small and bright. He touched it to the corner of the passport, and the edge darkened, curling. It didn't explode into anything dramatic. It just burned like paper burns, quiet and sure, turning her proof of identity into a ruined object in front of strangers. Maya's hands started shaking, not from fear of him, but from the raw humiliation. Her thoughts scattered, trying to land on something solid. She could hear her own breathing, shallow and fast. She imagined calling her mom and saying, "I'm stuck," and hearing that familiar worry sharpen into panic. She imagined her sister yelling, and then Maya having to calm her down, like always. A man near the stanchion said, "Hey, that's not right," but his voice had the soft uncertainty of someone who didn't want to get involved. Another person muttered, "Just comply," like Maya had refused to. Maya stared at Derek and realized something painful. It wasn't about the passport. It was about power. About someone enjoying the tiny thrill of making another person feel helpless. She took one slow breath. Then, another. She reached into her purse with careful hands, not rushing, not giving him the satisfaction of seeing her scramble. Her fingers found the hard edge of her ID badge holder. She pulled it out and placed it gently on the counter between them, like setting down a fact. Derek's eyes flicked to it. His brows lifted, just a little, but not enough to show fear yet. Maya looked straight at him. "My name is Maya Lewis," she said, her voice steady now, almost quiet. "And I need you to stop what you're doing." Derek let out a short laugh, but it sounded forced. "Oh yeah. And who are you supposed to be?" Maya's throat hurt, but she didn't look away. She knew the truth wouldn't feel like a movie line. It would feel like a sentence you had to say even when your hands were shaking. "I'm the chief FAA inspector assigned to this region," she said. "I'm here on official duty. And you just destroyed a federal travel document in public." The space between them shifted. Not magically. Not cleanly. But you could feel it, like when a room goes quiet after someone drops a glass. Derek blinked. He looked at her badge again. He looked at her face like he was seeing it for the first time. The line behind Maya didn't move anymore. Someone's phone finally lifted, fully upright, the camera lens catching the overhead lights. Maya didn't feel victorious. She felt tired, and sad, and angry in a way that sat deep, because she knew this wasn't just about her. It was about how easy it had been for him to do it. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a voicemail notification from her mom. Maya didn't listen. Not yet. She kept her eyes on Derek, waiting to see if he would double down, or back away, or try to pretend it was a misunderstanding. In her head, she heard her dad's voice again, calm and steady. "Don't let them shrink you." Maya didn't know what would happen next. She just knew she wasn't going to fold. The supervisor arrived 10 minutes later, breathless and tight-faced, his radio still crackling as he stepped into the half-circle that had formed around the gate counter. By then, the burned passport sat on the counter between Maya and Derek like a piece of evidence nobody wanted to touch. The smell of scorched paper still lingered, faint but stubborn, mixing with the scent of coffee and airport cleaner. "I'm going to need everyone to step back," the supervisor said, though his eyes stayed on Maya. "Ma'am, can we talk over here?" Maya nodded and picked up her bag. Her legs felt strange, like they belonged to someone else. As she followed him a few steps away, She noticed a woman about her mother's age standing near the window, watching her with concern. The woman gave her a small nod, the kind that said, "I saw that, and it mattered." Maya felt something loosen in her chest at the gesture, unexpected and grounding. They stopped near an empty podium. The supervisor introduced himself as Mark. His tone was careful, measured, the way people sound when they realize they've stepped into something bigger than they expected. "I want to apologize," Mark said. "That should not have happened." Maya listened, arms crossed loosely, not defensively but to keep herself together. She had heard apologies before. Some were real. Some were meant to make things smooth and quiet. "I'll need to document this," she said. "All of it?" Mark nodded quickly. "Of course. Absolutely." Behind them, Derek stood frozen, his earlier confidence drained out of him. He avoided looking at Maya now, staring instead at the floor like it might swallow him whole. As Mark spoke about procedures and next steps, Maya's phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from an unknown number. "You okay? I'm at the gate. Beige coat." Maya glanced back at the woman by the window. The woman lifted her hand slightly, like she didn't want to intrude. Maya hesitated, then typed back, "I will be. Thank you for asking." The reply came almost instantly. "I've been flying for 40 years. I've seen a lot." That wasn't right. Maya swallowed. She hadn't realized how badly she needed someone to say that. Not a supervisor. Not an official report. Just a person. After statements were taken and calls were made, Maya was escorted to a small office away from the gate. The room smelled like old carpet and printer toner. A single chair sat across from a desk that had seen better days. As she sat down, the adrenaline finally started to fade, leaving behind a heavy tiredness. A young airport employee brought her a bottle of water without saying anything. He placed it on the desk, gave her a quick, respectful nod, and left. Maya stared at the bottle for a moment before opening it. Her hands were still shaking, but less now. She thought about calling her mother, then decided not to. Not yet. Her mom would hear the stress in her voice and fill the silence with worry. Maya wanted one moment to herself, to feel what she felt without managing anyone else's emotions. Her mind kept replaying the lighter flicking on. The casual cruelty of it. The way people had watched. The way she'd stood there, heart pounding, refusing to disappear. Why did it still hurt so much, even knowing who she was? That question followed her when she finally left the office and walked toward a quiet seating area near a coffee stand. She ordered a black coffee this time, hot, and wrapped both hands around the cup like it was an anchor. The woman in the beige coat was sitting alone at a nearby table. When she saw Maya, she smiled gently. "Mind if I join you?" she asked. Maya hesitated out of habit. She wasn't used to leaning on strangers. But something about the woman's calm presence made it feel safe. "Sure," Maya said. "I'm Linda," the woman said, setting her bag down. "I used to teach high school history." Maya smiled faintly. "Maya." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, sipping coffee. The airport noise faded into the background, a distant hum instead of a roar. "I almost said something sooner," Linda said softly. "I regret that." Maya shook her head. "You did say something. It mattered." Linda studied her for a moment. "You handled that with more grace than most people would." Maya let out a small laugh that surprised her. "I didn't feel graceful." "No one ever does in the middle of it," Linda said. "But you stood your ground." Maya stared into her coffee. "Sometimes it feels like standing your ground costs more than it gives." Linda nodded, like she understood exactly what Maya meant. "It can. But it also teaches you who you are." They talked for a few minutes more, about nothing important. Flights. Weather. The weird way airports made everyone feel slightly lost. It was such a small thing, but Maya felt herself slowly re-entering her body, her thoughts lining up again. When Linda's boarding group was called, she stood and squeezed Maya's shoulder gently. Take care of yourself, she said. And don't carry this alone. After Linda left, Maya sat there a while longer, thinking. She realized how much she'd been carrying lately without admitting it. The long hours. The pressure to always be twice as prepared. The quiet exhaustion of proving, over and over, that she belonged. Her phone buzzed again. This time she answered. Maya, her mother's voice said, shaky with relief. Where are you? At the airport, Maya said. I'm okay. There was a pause. You sound tired. Maya closed her eyes. Yeah, she said. I am. And for the first time in a long while, she didn't apologize for it. Maya didn't end up boarding a plane that day. By the time everything settled into paperwork and quiet phone calls, the flight was gone. Another could be arranged, Mark had said. Careful again, overly polite now. Tomorrow morning. First thing. A hotel voucher slid across the counter like a peace offering. Maya nodded and accepted it without comment. The hotel was 10 minutes away, one of those chain places with beige walls and inspirational quotes framed in the hallway. The shuttle smelled faintly of air freshener and old seats. The driver talked to no one in particular about traffic and sports scores. Maya stared out the window, watching Atlanta blur past in brake lights and billboards, feeling hollowed out. Her room was clean and quiet. Too quiet. She set her bag down and stood in the middle of the room for a long moment, unsure what to do with her hands. The bedspread was pulled tight, untouched. The TV remote sat perfectly aligned on the desk. Everything felt frozen, waiting for her to react. She didn't cry right away. Instead, she went into the bathroom and washed her hands, slowly, like she was trying to scrub the memory off her skin. She stared at herself in the mirror. Her eyes looked older than she remembered. Not broken. Just tired. I did everything right, she said out loud, testing the sentence. The room didn't answer. She sat on the edge of the bed and finally listened to her mom's voicemail. Her mother's voice filled the room, warm and worried, asking if she'd landed, reminding her to eat something, telling her she loved her. Maya felt her chest tighten. She called back. Her mom answered on the second ring. Maya, thank God. I missed the flight, Maya said. Silence. Then, gently, are you okay? Maya opened her mouth to say yes, the automatic answer she'd perfected over years of not wanting to worry anyone. But the word stuck. I don't know, she said instead. Her mother didn't rush in to fix it. She just listened. Maya found herself telling her everything. Not just the passport. Not just Derek. But the exhaustion underneath it all. The constant need to be alert. The way she rehearsed conversations before meetings. The quiet fear that one mistake would erase years of work. I'm so tired of being strong, Maya said, her voice breaking for the first time that day. I'm tired of always having to prove I deserve to be where I am. Her mom sighed softly. Baby, you shouldn't have to carry all of that by yourself. I know, Maya said. But I don't know how not to. After they hung up, Maya sat in the dark, the phone heavy in her hand. She thought about the way Derek had looked at her before he knew who she was. How easily respect had come once a title entered the room. That realization hurt more than the lighter. She thought about her job. About why she'd chosen it in the first place. She believed in systems working better. In fairness being more than a word in a policy manual. But somewhere along the way, she'd started measuring her worth by how well she survived rooms that weren't built for her. The TV flickered on without sound, some late-night news playing silently. She watched people talk without hearing the words and wondered when she'd started muting herself. Her phone buzzed again. A message from her sister this time. Mom said you had a day. Want me to distract you or listen? Maya stared at the screen. Her thumb hovered. Then she typed back. Listen. Her sister called immediately. No small talk. No advice. Just space. After the call ended, Maya lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling. She realized the breaking point wasn't the humiliation at the gate. It was the understanding that she'd been absorbing moments like that for years, stacking them quietly, telling herself it was just part of the job. Part of life. But it didn't have to be. She didn't need to stop caring. She didn't need to quit. She just needed to stop pretending she was untouched. Maya rolled onto her side and finally let herself cry. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just steady tears soaking into the hotel pillow, releasing something she'd been holding too tightly. When the tears slowed, she felt lighter. Not fixed. Not healed. But honest. She picked up her badge from the nightstand and looked at it again. Not as armor. Not as proof. Just as a tool. Tomorrow, she would do her job. Fully. Clearly. Without shrinking. And tonight, she would let herself rest. Maya woke before her alarm, the room still dark and quiet except for the low hum of the air conditioner. For a moment, she didn't remember where she was. Then the weight of the previous day settled back in, softer than before, like a bruise that had stopped throbbing. She sat up slowly and placed her feet on the carpet. Her eyes felt puffy, but her chest felt clearer. She took a deep breath and noticed something small but important. She wasn't bracing herself. Downstairs, the hotel lobby smelled like coffee and disinfectant. A few business travelers sat scattered around, scrolling through phones, minds already somewhere else. Maya poured herself a cup of coffee and stood by the window, watching the sky lighten over the parking lot. It wasn't a beautiful sunrise. Just gray turning to pale blue. Ordinary. Steady. At the airport, things moved differently this time. She checked in without incident. No looks that lingered too long. No comments that needed decoding. Just routine. And somehow, that felt like a relief and a reminder at the same time. The system could work. It just didn't always choose to. In a conference room near the operations offices, Maya sat across from senior airport staff. The burned passport lay sealed in a clear evidence sleeve on the table. She spoke calmly, clearly, not raising her voice or shrinking it either. She described exactly what happened. She didn't editorialize. She didn't soften the edges to make anyone comfortable. The room was quiet when she finished. One of the managers cleared his throat. "That should never have happened," he said. And this time, it didn't sound rehearsed. There were consequences. Not dramatic ones. No shouting. No public spectacle. Just accountability. Reports filed. Procedures reviewed. Training scheduled. The kind of slow, unglamorous changes that actually last. When the meeting ended, Maya walked out alone, her steps lighter than she expected. She didn't feel triumphant. She felt settled. At a coffee stand near the exit, she ordered a latte and waited while the barista worked the machine. A young woman behind the counter glanced at her and smiled. "Rough travel week?" she asked casually. Maya considered the question, then nodded. "Yeah," she said. "But it's getting better." She took her drink and found a seat near a window. Planes rolled by outside, steady and loud and unbothered. Life moving forward whether anyone was ready or not. Her phone buzzed. A text from her sister. "Proud of you." Maya smiled, small and real. She typed back, "Thank you for listening." As she stood to leave, she caught her reflection in the glass. She looked the same. Same face. Same tired eyes. But something in her posture had shifted. She wasn't holding herself so tight anymore. Walking through the terminal, Maya passed people rushing, worrying, living inside their own invisible battles. She wondered how many of them had been made to feel small for no good reason. How many carried it quietly. She couldn't fix all of that. She knew that now. But she could refuse to accept it as normal. At the gate, she paused for a moment before boarding. Not because she was afraid. Just because she wanted to remember this feeling. The quiet strength of knowing who you are, even when no one else does. Especially then. Maya stepped onto the plane and took her seat. As it taxied forward, she looked out the window, not searching for meaning, just noticing the motion. Sometimes, the win isn't loud. Sometimes it's simply leaving with your dignity intact. And sometimes, that's enough to change how you walk into the next room.